Waitress says to millionaire, "My mom has the same ring. What happens next changes everything." Which country are you watching us from? Let me know in the comments. John sat in his usual spot at the cafe, a place where time seemed to bend. The city outside pulsed with energy, a tapestry of honking cars, buzzing scooters, and distant laughter. He took a slow sip of his coffee, the steam curling into the air like whispers of forgotten dreams. But today, something felt different. A strange thrill danced in the air, like static before a storm. His gaze drifted to the family ring on his finger. The gold gleamed in the afternoon light, each facet a portal into his past. He could almost hear his grandmother's voice, her laughter mixing with the clink of fine china. But today, that distant nostalgia faded as a young waitress approached. Maria was her name. She moved gracefully, a burst of warmth amid the cafe's familiar chill. "Excuse me," she began, her smile wide and bright. "I couldn't help but notice your ring. My mom had one just like it, but she lost it in an accident years ago." The words hung in the air, heavy yet shimmering with possibility. John's heart skipped. Was this mere coincidence? The universe nudging them together? He felt an unexpected knot in his chest, a reaction so foreign to his reclusive nature. Could a simple ring, gold and ornate, connect them in ways he couldn't yet fathom? His thoughts raced, twirling with both curiosity and an ache he thought long buried. "Would you like to see it?" he heard himself say, the words tumbling out before he could second guess. The sudden invitation shocked him, but an urgent desire to break free of his isolation urged him forward. Maria's eyes lit up, reflecting the spark of hope. "Really? You mean it?" There was a sweetness to her tone, a warmth that melted away John's usual reserve. They agreed to meet at his mansion later that evening. As they walked through the cafe's front door, the world seemed to tilt, a blend of potential and peril swirling around them. John's lavish home loomed over the vast estate, a testament to his family's legacy, but also a vault of secrets he had always kept locked away. Once inside, they wandered through the grand halls adorned with ancient portraits and glistening chandeliers. Each room held echoes of the past, and as they shared their stories, a bond began to form, tenuous yet precious. They spoke of dreams, her aspirations to support vulnerable mothers, and his heartache over family expectations. But as laughter echoed off the walls, shadows lurked. John's brother Alejandro learned of their budding friendship, ambitious and cunning. He saw Maria as a threat to his designs on their family's fortune. Tensions simmer. As evening crept in, Maria stood by the window, gazing out at the darkening sky. "What if we could find my mom's ring?" she mused, her voice soft yet filled with longing. John felt a tug at his heart. Were they mere dreamers crossing paths? Or was fate threading their lives together? They faced an unforeseen challenge, shadows swirling around them. Would they withstand the storm, or would the secrets that bind their families tear them apart? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're here, hit that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As they stood by the window, the tension in the room thickened. The sunset painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, casting shadows that danced along the walls. John's heart raced at Maria's innocent suggestion about the lost ring. He felt something awakening inside him, a flicker of hope maybe. Then a loud crash shattered the moment. The front doors of the mansion swung open violently, and in stormed Alejandro, John's older brother. His face twisted in fury, the kind that made John's stomach drop. "What is going on here?" he yelled, slicing through the warm atmosphere like a knife. His eyes flickered between John and Maria, suspicion burning in them. "Nothing, Alejandro. We're just—" John began, but Alejandro cut him off. "Just what? Playing house with the waitress?" His contempt hung heavily in the air. Maria's smile faded, concern creeping into her expressive eyes as she sensed the growing tension. "Leave her out of this, Alejandro," John shot back, his tone sharper than intended. He felt the weight of family loyalty clashing with the new bond he shared with Maria. It was confusing, exhilarating, and frightening all at once. But before Alejandro could retort, a strident voice blasted from behind him. "This has gone too far, John." Their mother, Doña Elena, stood at the threshold, her presence demanding respect. She glided in with an elegance that belied the furious fire in her eyes. "You play with fire and you will get burned." The air crackled, heartbeats sinking with rising tension. "Mother, it's not what you think," John stammered, the words slipping through his fingers like sand. But Doña Elena's eyes were fixed on Maria now. "What do you want from my son? What's your game?" The accusation hung ominously between them. Maria took a step back, confusion twisting her features. "I don't want anything but—" "Enough!" Alejandro barked. "You think you can charm your way into this family? You're a nobody, just a waitress." The words cut sharply, and John felt the heat rise in his cheeks, the urge to defend Maria swelling within him like a tidal wave. Suddenly, from the back of the mansion came a loud bang. A frame fell from the wall, crashing to the floor. All heads turned toward the noise. Then they noticed something glinting in the scattered glass. Alejandro bent down, picking up a familiar object from the debris. A gold ring, ornate and undeniably striking. John's breath hitched. "It can't be," he whispered, his voice trembling. Alejandro's grin was one of triumph. "Looks like we found your mother's lost treasure after all, Maria." He flaunted the ring as if it were a trophy, but more than that, the realization hit John like a jolt of electricity. All his previous assumptions shattered like the glass around them. How could this be? Maria's expression shifted rapidly from shock to something deeper. "Wait," she began, each word coated in disbelief. "That's not just any ring. That's my mother's." In that moment of revelation, Maria's eyes locked onto John's, a silent question forming between them. They both knew that the past had just extended its hand, dragging them further into a web of secrets more tangled than they ever could have imagined. What did this mean? Was fate playing a cruel trick? Or was it weaving their lives into a tapestry of shared history they had never fathomed? As the room fell into a stunned silence, a chilling thought raced through John's mind. Could they ever truly escape their families? The question echoed hauntingly, lingering like the fading light outside, now cloaked in uncertainty. As the room fell into a stunned silence, the weight of the moment pressed heavily on everyone. Maria's eyes widened in disbelief, darting between the ring in Alejandro's hands and John, who seemed equally shaken. The air was electric, charged with the unspoken truths that hung like a storm cloud ready to burst. Just as Maria opened her mouth to speak, the ground beneath them trembled, a low rumble that rattled the ornate chandeliers above. John's heart raced, not from fear, but from a sudden, overwhelming instinct. "Get down," he shouted, pushing Maria to the side as a deafening crash filled the room. The sound of shattering glass echoed as pieces of the chandelier fell around them like rain. Confusion engulfed the moment. Doña Elena grabbed for the nearest table, still watching Alejandro, her eyes wide with fear and fury. "What's happening?" she cried, struggling to keep her seat. Shouted Alejandro as he instinctively ducked, still clutching the ring like a prize. But then, amidst the chaos, something more sinister unfolded. From the shadows of the grand hall, a figure stepped forward, moving silently yet purposefully. The lights flickered violently, casting eerie shadows, and John squinted to get a better look at the intruder. It was a face he recognized but had not expected to see. "Lucia?" he whispered, disbelief flooding his senses. Lucia, his long-lost sister, stood there, her eyes widened with a wild mix of sorrow and resolve. "John," she breathed, taking a shaky step forward. "I never thought I'd find you like this." Alejandro's face drained of color. "What the hell are you doing here?" he stammered, completely thrown off by the sight of her. "Enough!" Lucia snapped, her voice fierce. "I'm not here to explain myself, but you need to know something." She held up a trembling hand and pointed at the ring in Alejandro's grasp. "That ring, it isn't just your mother's. It belonged to our grandmother." "Stop!" John interrupted, his chest tight, eyes darting between Lucia and Maria, who stood frozen with disbelief. "What do you mean?" Lucia met his gaze, a fire igniting behind her sorrow. "What I mean is that the stories we were told were lies. I've come to uncover the truth about our family. And that ring is the key." John's heart raced. Memories flooded back. Family dinners steeped in tension, whispered secrets in dark corridors. Could it be possible that the stories about their lineage, their mother's expectations, their father's mysterious past were all just a facade? As Lucia took another step closer, the sound of frantic sirens blared in the distance, a backdrop of chaos mirroring the turmoil in the room. "The truth is darker than you think. Our entire family is tied up in something much deeper than anyone knows." Maria's expression shifted, guilt creeping into her gaze. "What are you saying? Is my mother involved too?" Lucia's eyes softened, a glimpse of compassion breaking through her urgency. "Yes, but it goes much further. You're not just connected by the ring or your mother's past. There are ties that bind us all, far beyond what we can comprehend." The words hung heavy in the air, swirling conspiracies threatening to unravel everything. Alejandro's grip tightened around the ring, his posture defensive, fear flashing in his dark eyes. "This is insane. You're just trying to mess with us." "Am I?" Lucia shot back, determination etched into her features. "Or am I trying to save you from the fate that has entangled us all?" The realization hit John like a tidal wave. What they thought was coincidence was perhaps orchestrated. The tension thickened, the possibility of betrayal lurking close. Could they truly trust Lucia? And what exactly did it mean for Maria and for him? As the sirens wailed closer, the room charged with energy, everyone aware that life as they knew it was about to change forever. With the ring raised, hoping for clarity, uncertainty loomed larger than the daylight outside. A dark family secret waited to be unearthed. But would they have the courage to face it together? The room held its breath, trapped in the tension that clung to the air like smoke. John's heart raced, caught between disbelief and an overwhelming urge to protect Maria. "What do you mean, Lucia? What truth?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, the weight of his family's legacy pressing down like a heavy cloak. Lucia stepped closer, urgency radiating from her every pore. "That ring is a symbol of something much bigger. Our family is entangled in a web of lies, dark secrets that stretch back generations. Your mother, my mother." But as she spoke, John's gaze moved to the window where shadows loomed near the gates, dark figures appearing against the fading light. "I have to go," he suddenly shouted, feeling the need to protect Maria and confront whatever was outside. "They're coming for us." He rushed to the door. "John, wait!" Maria called out, her voice breaking. But he was already bolting toward the front entrance, pushing past Lucia and Alejandro, who stood rigid, eyes wide with shock. No sooner had he thrown open the great doors than a swarm of men in dark suits surged forward, accompanied by a woman who radiated power, her hair slicked back into a tight bun, her eyes cold and calculating. "Stop right there," she commanded, her voice sharp and unwavering. "What the hell do you want?" John shouted, his heart pounding in his throat. Anger coursed through him, mixed with fear. He couldn't comprehend the sudden invasion, the threat they posed to the fragile peace that had just begun to assemble. "We're here for the ring," she declared, locking eyes with him, a smug smile creeping onto her lips. "And your entire bloodline's legacy." "Who are you?" John's voice trembled with both fury and confusion. "A reminder," she said, glancing at Alejandro. "A reminder of the debts that your family owes. The ring isn't just a treasure, it's a key to reclaiming what is rightfully ours." The revelation struck John like a bolt of lightning. "Ours?" he echoed, his mind racing to make sense of the chaos unfolding. "What do you mean?" "Your family has been sitting on a fortune tied to lost lands and unfulfilled promises. I'm here to collect." Lucia stepped forward, her expression turning frantic. "No, you can't just take it. You have no right." But the woman's laughter echoed in response, a cruel melody slicing through the mounting tension. "Didn't you get the memo?" she smirked, her eyes narrowing. "Your mother thought she could bury the truth, but the past always finds a way to resurface." "Let me get this straight," Alejandro interjected, panic mingling with bravado. "You're claiming our family owes you something for a ring?" "Not just any ring, Alejandro," the woman hissed, her tone biting. "Your grandmother's choices led to loss and betrayal. The time for reckoning has come." Maria's face drained of color, each revelation cutting deeper into the fabric of their shared narrative. "This can't be happening," she murmured, her voice trembling. Just as confusion began to swirl like a storm, the woman raised her hand. "Enough of this. You have until sunset tomorrow to hand over the ring. If you fail..." Without finishing her sentence, she turned to leave, her entourage following suit, shadows slipping away like whispers into the night. The threat hung thick in the air, leaving a chilling silence that felt unbearably heavy. What just happened? John's voice was nearly breaking, the pieces of his reality shattering before him. Maria stepped back, her expression one of despair. "We have to figure this out," Lucia urged, determination twisting her features. "If what she said is true, if my mother knew, she has to have left some sort of clue." But even now, doubt gnawed at John. Could they trust Lucia? What had she kept hidden all along? Unanswered questions swirled in his mind, shadows crippling the flickers of hope that dared to rise within him. As he glanced at Maria, her wide, terrified eyes mirrored his own, and he knew, deep down, the very foundation of their lives had shifted beneath them. And just as they seemed to recover from the onslaught of revelations, a bright flash lit the room, followed by a loud bang, making the glass in the elegant chandeliers rattle violently. "What now?" John shouted, panic rising again as they all instinctively ducked. As the dust settled, they turned to the door, where a familiar figure stepped inside. The last person any of them expected to see. It was their fat. "Where did you get that?" he demanded, his voice layered with fear. At that moment, John felt every thread of loyalty and family begin to unravel. This was a twist darker than he could have ever imagined. Secrets, lies, and generations of betrayal hung in the balance, waiting to explode. Could they face the truth together? Or had they all just crossed a line from which there was no return? John's heart raced as he stared at his father, his mind racing with unanswered questions. "Dad, what do you mean, where did I get it?" he stammered, the world around him spinning as he tried to process the impact of the moment. "Give it to me," his father shouted, suddenly moving towards Alejandro, reaching for the ring. The urgency in his voice cut through the tension like a knife. "You don't know what you're playing with." "What are you talking about?" John demanded, confusion boiling over. The room was thick with anticipation, every pair of eyes locked on this unexpected confrontation. Maria's worry deepened, the uncertainty palpable in the air. His father's face contorted with something akin to fear as he wrested the ring from Alejandro's hand. "You have no idea how dangerous this is," he spat. His grip tightened around the ring, knuckles turning white. It was as if the family legacy had summoned a tension neither had anticipated. Before John could react, his father raised the ring high, a frantic light igniting within his gaze. "This isn't just a family heirloom, it's a map." The words hung thick in the air, each syllable carving a deeper mystery into the night. "A map?" Lucia echoed, her voice rising with disbelief. "What do you mean? A map to what?" "A map to lost lands, treasures, a legacy buried under our family's shame." His father took a breath, struggling to maintain composure. "Your grandmother's made choices to protect us, but now those choices have come back to haunt us." "That's just a story," Alejandro scoffed, but doubt flickered in his eyes. "Isn't it?" "No," their father replied, shaking his head. "It's the truth." His gaze dropped to the ring. Reverence and fear twisted within him. "It leads to a fortune tied to bloodlines and danger that your mother has tried to shield you from." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside, rattling the windows and shaking the chandeliers. The figures that had retreated earlier advanced back towards the mansion. Panic erupted in the group. "What now?" Maria whispered, fear like ice gripping her heart. "Get away from the windows," their father shouted, urgency pushing him into action. As the name of the mysterious woman slipped from Lucia's lips, the woman who had threatened them, the reality felt heavy. "Why weren't we told?" John pressed. "What else are you hiding?" But before his father could answer, the intruders stormed in, shouting commands and brandishing something gleaming, a weapon. Maria gasped, her hands trembling as shadows crashed into the room. In the chaos, a shot rang out, loud and piercing. Time froze. Marbled eyes darted, wide with terror. Then John felt it, a sudden rush, a warmth spreading through him. His father stumbled, the ring slipping from his grasp. "No!" John shouted, the world exploding in chaos. The room exploded into screams, the weight of the moment crushing down. Shadows coiled around the figures, blending into a dark storm of confusion and fear. "Dad!" John screamed, scrambling forward, heart racing. But the moment was lost in chaos. His father fell to the ground, breath abandoning him as the room warped and tightened with screams and frantic voices. In that instant, the ground beneath John wobbled like a fragile bridge at risk of collapse. Electrified silence followed. Tumbling confusion spiraled into despair. He crouched beside his father, their eyes locking for the last time, an unspoken apology mingling with the distant sounds of the storm. "Protect them," his father whispered through gritted teeth, fading, and then his eyes closed, an eternal stillness settling over him as John's heart shattered. Realizing the weight of the secrets hidden within their family's legacy, everything faltered. Trust shattered into a million pieces. All that they had believed, tied to a ring, now twisted in darkness. As shadows encircled them, Maria's voice cut through the storm. "What do we do now?" It was a reluctant question, one they'd never thought they'd be facing. And in that haze of confusion, doubt swelled, questioning whether the ring they once cherished was indeed a treasure or just the beginning of an inescapable nightmare. The world around him was a blur, chaos swirling like a storm. He could hear Maria's breath quickening, her voice strangled with despair. "What did we do? What do we do now?" Lucia's eyes widened, glistening with frantic awareness. "We have to move. There's no time." Alejandro stood frozen, the very essence of disbelief etched on his face, the ring still clutched in his hand as if it were a lifeline. "No, this can't be happening," he stammered. glancing from his father's still form to the doorway where shadows loomed. John felt a rush of decisions crashing into him. This wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about survival, secrets, unraveling a legacy that had now turned deadly. "We need to go, now!" he shouted. Suddenly, the space around them shifted. A loud bang shattered the air, and the walls of the mansion reverberated with a harsh reality. Then, from somewhere deeper in the house, a figure emerged, tall and ominous, silhouetted against the dim light. John recognized the unexpected face even before the figure stepped into view. "Mama?" John's voice cracked as the realization hit him like a slap. His mother stood there, her eyes wild, an expression of bitterness and raw turmoil on her face. "What are you doing here?" he gasped, the world spiraling further. "Where have you been?" But her gaze was fixed upon the ring in Alejandro's hand. "A storm. I warned you all. I warned you the truth would come for us," she shouted, her voice a mix of rage and heartbreak. "You knew this was going to happen?" Lucia stepped closer, disbelief coursing through her. "Not like this." Doña Elena shot back, her voice rising. "I thought we had more time." Before anyone could respond, there was another crash, but this time, the noise wasn't just outside. A deep rumbling shook the foundations of the house. The lights flickered violently, painting their faces with shadows and confusion. "Mama, we need to leave," John urged, grabbing Maria's hand. "We can't stay here." But then, like a twisted revelation springing forth, Doña Elena reached back into the depths of her coat, emerging with a small, ornate box. "You don't understand. The ring is tied to our family, our lineage, and the darkness in it." With trembling hands, she opened the box, revealing a sapphire amulet, glowing with an ethereal light, a sharp contrast to the bitter reality unfolding. "This is what they want. This is what all of this has been about." "Who are they?" John shouted, panic mounting. "The same people who've hunted us for generations," she replied, tears streaming down her face. "They won't stop until they have both, the ring and the amulet. They represent a power that could destroy worlds, and our family has been a protector for too long." A rush of air whooshed through the room, and a dark figure appeared behind Doña Elena. A piercing laugh echoed, chilling all of them. "Isn't this just delightful?" the figure said, stepping into the light, revealing a face that none had seen for years, but recognized instantly. It was their long-lost uncle, Hugo, presumed dead, a man whose very shadow had haunted their childhood. "Uncle Hugo," Alejandro gasped, shock painted across his features. "Indeed, Alejandro, I come with a proposition." Hugo grinned, malicious glee dancing in his eyes. "Hand over the ring and the amulet, and I may spare your lives." The chaos around John seemed to freeze. The story he thought he understood twisted and morphed, reality split apart by lies and masked truths. Everything hung precariously, about to tip into the abyss. He glanced at Maria, whose shock mirrored his own. What should we do? But before anyone could answer, the mansion's walls began to tremble violently, threatening to crumble. Shadows danced eerily, and a chilling wind swept through, carrying whispers of betrayals past. In that moment of impending doom, John knew they had crossed a line, whether they realized it or not. The ring, the amulet, the secret histories, they weren't just artifacts. They were weights binding them to a fate none could outrun. How did it all connect? What horrors awaited them if they chose to defy Hugo's twisted bargain? And as the mansion shuddered around them, one thing became painfully clear. They were trapped in a deadly game, with everyone playing for their lives. What would they choose when the final card was laid down? John's heart surged with adrenaline as he knelt beside his father's lifeless body. The world around him was a blur, chaos, swirling like a storm. He could hear Maria's breath quickening, her voice strangled with despair. "What do we do? What do we do now?" Lucia's eyes widened, glistening with frantic awareness. "We have to move. There's no time." Alejandro stood frozen, the very essence of disbelief etched on his face, the ring still clutched in his hand as if it were a lifeline. "No, this can't be happening," he stammered, glancing from his father's still form to the doorway where shadows loomed. John felt a rush of decisions crashing into him. This wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about survival, secrets, unraveling a legacy that had now turned deadly. "We need to go now," he shouted. Suddenly, the space around them shifted. A loud bang shattered the air, and the walls of the mansion reverberated with a harsh reality. The lights flickered violently, painting their faces with shadows and confusion. "Mama, we need to leave," John urged, grabbing Maria's hand. "We can't stay here." But then, like a twisted revelation springing forth, Doña Elena reached back into the depths of her coat, emerging with a small, ornate box. "You don't understand. The ring is tied to our family, our lineage, and the darkness in it." With trembling hands, she opened the box, revealing a sapphire amulet, glowing with an ethereal light, a sharp contrast to the bitter reality unfolding. "This is what they want. This is what all of this has been about." "Who are they?" John shouted, panic mounting. "The same people who've hunted us for generations," she replied, tears streaming down her face. "They won't stop until they have both, the ring and the amulet. They represent a power that could destroy worlds, and our family has been a protector for too long." A rush of air whooshed through the room, and a dark figure appeared behind Doña Elena. A piercing laugh echoed, chilling all of them. "Isn't this just delightful?" the figure said, stepping into the light, revealing a face that none had seen for years but recognized instantly. It was their long-lost Uncle Hugo, presumed dead, a man whose very shadow had haunted their childhood. "Uncle Hugo!" Alejandro gasped, shock painted across his features. "Indeed, Alejandro. I come with a proposition," Hugo grinned, malicious glee dancing in his eyes. "Hand over the ring and the amulet, and I may spare your lives." The chaos around John seemed to freeze. The story he thought he understood twisted and morphed. Reality split apart by lies and masked truths. Everything hung precariously, about to tip into the abyss. He glanced at Maria, whose shock mirrored his own. "What should we do?" But before anyone could answer, the mansion's walls began to tremble violently, threatening to crumble. Shadows danced eerily, and a chilling wind swept through, carrying whispers of betrayal's past. In that moment of impending doom, John knew they had crossed a line, whether they realized it or not. The ring, the amulet, the secret histories, they weren't just artifacts. They were weights binding them to a fate none could outrun. How did it all connect? What horrors awaited them if they chose to defy Hugo's twisted bargain? And as the mansion shuddered around them, one thing became painfully clear. They were trapped in a deadly game, with everyone playing for their lives. Just then, the floor beneath John creaked ominously. A sudden jolt sent him sprawling, and the walls seemed to ripple as if they were alive. Then, just as everything felt ready to collapse, a blinding light erupted from the ring in Alejandro's hand. It pulsed, illuminating the room in a solid. "Look out!" Maria screamed, as they all shielded their eyes. When the blinding light faded, the air held an impossible weight. John blinked, and his heart dropped. Standing before them, in the very spot where Hugo had been moments before, was someone else entirely. A woman with fiery red hair and glowing emerald eyes. She seemed out of time, as if the fabric of reality itself had torn open. "Where is he?" Her voice was fierce, slicing through the stunned silence. "Where is Hugo?" Lucia asked, her voice trembling yet bold. "I'm not here to harm you. At least, not yet." She stepped forward, eyes darting to the ring. I'm here to warn you, all of you. Your family is part of a legacy that is much darker than you realize. And in your hands, you hold the power to either save or doom countless lives. The truth slammed into John like a tidal wave. Every assumption about their family, every secret buried deep, began to unravel. Who was this woman? What did she mean about their legacy? As she faced them, the weight of their choices pressed on their shoulders, heavy, ominous, and tantalizingly unclear. Would they heed her warning, or would they plunge deeper into the shadows? Time hung suspended in the air. The answer lay just beyond their reach. As the luminous figure stabilized, the tension in the room thickened like a heavy fog. "Who are you?" Lucia pressed again, the urgency in her tone unyielding. The woman scanned their faces, an intensity swirling in her emerald eyes. "You don't understand. My name is Clara, and I'm here because the legacy of your family is in danger." "Again? What do you mean again?" John stammered, feeling a knot of fear clenched tight in his stomach. Clara took a step closer, her voice low and firm. "The evil tied to that ring and amulet has risen, threatening not just your family, but everyone connected to you." "They want the ring?" Alejandro asked, gripping it tightly, disbelief etched on his face. "Yes." She turned her fierce gaze on him. "But it's not just the ring, it's you. Your bloodline holds the key to either saving or destroying everything." John felt a wave of nausea wash over him. The room pulsed with pressure, hidden truths clawing to the surface. As he looked around at Maria, Lucia, and Alejandro, he could sense they were all thinking the same thing. What did this mean for them? Yet before anyone could respond, Hugo let out a laugh that echoed chillingly through the mansion. "You poor fools. You really think she's here to save you?" Clara's expression darkened, and John felt the world tilt on its axis. "Hugo, you don't have the right. You're the one who turned against our family," she snapped, stepping back, defensive. "Right? You think you know everything? Your mother kept secrets too. Secrets that bind me to you now." Hugo lunged forward, pointing accusingly at Clara. "And all of it leads back to that ring." The air crackled with tension, and as Hugo's voice escalated, John felt the fabric of everything he believed slip through his fingers. Secrets, betrayals, what did they mean for him? Then Clara's body shimmered, the light behind her glinting eerily off the ring in Alejandro's hand. And suddenly, before anyone could react, she collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. "What the—" Lucia stepped forward, panic etched across her features. "Help her!" Maria shouted, her fear echoing through John like a bell. But as he moved toward Clara, something unseen yanked at him, hard and malevolent. From the shadows, a chill swept through the room, distorting reality itself. "Stop!" Hugo ordered, eyes fixed on John with wild intent. "You can't trust her. She's manipulating you." And then, right before their eyes, Clara began to shimmer like a mirage. The light enveloped not just her, but everyone around. Suddenly, the auras of their surroundings fractured, colors bleeding into one another until they seemed to bleed into a different world. "What's happening?" Alejandra shouted, voice thick with confusion. With a piercing scream, Clara's form flickered. "It's not what you think," she cried out, just as the room burst into an explosion of light. John shielded his eyes. When the blinding radiance faded, he staggered back, breath caught in his throat. Everything had changed. Clara was gone, but in her place stood another figure entirely, a dark silhouette that radiated power, a twisted version of Hugo with the same piercing gaze. "Did you really think you could escape this cycle?" the new figure taunted, his voice like ice, chilling them to the core. "I've waited too long to reclaim what is mine." John's heart pounded like a war drum. Hugo's face paled, terror flashing across the surface. "What have you done?" he gasped. "Brought forth the true heir," the figure said, and the shockwave cascading through the room felt tangible, like a hand gripping their throats. The truth crashed over John like a wave. This was a reality he never expected. You're not Hugo," he whispered, each word slicing into the air, heavy with dread. "Indeed not. I am the legacy that will cleanse this family of its weaknesses," he replied, eyes gleaming with a wicked glee. The silence in the room felt heavy, a blanket of dread smothering them all. John felt his heart race in rhythm with rising panic. Everything they just uncovered was a mere fraction of what was to come. The voices of his family's past echoed through him, whispering secrets and lies. But years of loyalty and trust wrapped tightly around his throat loosened, and in that fragile moment of realization, he knew the battle was just beginning. Who was really the villain here? As the walls shuddered again and shadows closed around them tighter than ever, John wondered what other truths lay waiting to be discovered. John's heart pounded fiercely as the dark figure loomed in front of them, Hugo's twisted reflection grinning wickedly. "You really think you can escape?" The chill in his voice sent a shiver down John's spine. The walls shuddered again, shadows threatening to swallow them whole. The air grew thick with tension, every breath an effort. "What do you want?" John yelled, desperate to break the suffocating silence. Hugo stepped closer, his eyes gleaming with malevolence. "This is just the beginning. You think you have power over me, over the ring? Not a chance." Maria's voice was barely a whisper, tremors lacing her words. "What do you mean? What do you want from us?" Hugo smirked, seeming to relish the fear radiating from the group. "All those years you spent hidden away, all those lies your family told, they didn't prepare you for the truth." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "You're not the last of your bloodline. You're just another pawn." As he spoke, a rumble echoed through the mansion, vibrating the very walls and shaking the chandeliers. John's breath quickened, and Clara's sudden disappearance gnawed at him. "Where's Clara?" he demanded, scanning the room for any sign of her. But as he looked around, a sharp gasp pierced the air. Alejandro stood frozen, his face pale as a ghost. "Look," he shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. All eyes turned to the center of the room, where a swirling vortex of light had formed, casting eerie shadows across everyone's faces. It pulsed rhythmically as if breathing. Suddenly, a figure emerged from it, draped in shadows, stepping forward with an elegance that belied the chaos around them. "Enough of this," the figure declared, voice resonating with authority. As the shadows faded, John's heart dropped in horror at the face he recognized all too well. Their mother, Doña Elena, was stepping out of the light, her expression steely and fierce. "Mother?" John gasped, eyes wide with astonishment. "But how?" "Time is running out," she snapped, completely disregarding the question, her focus solely on Hugo. "I should have known you would return, twisted and vile as ever." "No more lies, Elena," Hugo retorted coldly. "You can't protect them. They are part of something far greater than you realize. And you, my dear sister, can't shield them from their fate." "Sister?" John staggered back, confusion choking him. His family was built on layers of lies, and with each revelation, he felt reality shift, crack, and fracture. Donna Elena took a step forward, eyes blazing. "You are not their judge. You have no power here." But just as she spoke, a piercing scream shattered the moment. John whipped around to see Maria doubling over, clutching her head. "Get away from her," he shouted, rushing toward her. The chaos escalated. The room spun, shadows swirling and threatening to engulf them all. "What's happening?" Lucia yelled, trying to make sense of the madness. But Hugo's reaction told them everything they needed to know. He laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. Maria is linked to it all, an heir just like you. Your mother tried to hide you both, but the blood runs deeper than lies. She could never sever the ties. John's heart froze. What? No! Maria, this can't be true. Panic flooded his voice as he reached out for her, terror pooling in his chest. Maria looked up, eyes wide with shock and pain. What does that mean, John? What are you saying? Stop, Doña Elena cried, seeing the panic spreading like wildfire. You must understand. If the truth is unleashed, it could tear this family apart forever. In that moment, a crack formed in the air, time and space warping in ways John couldn't fathom. Alejandro, still clutching the ring, yelled, "We have to do something, if we don't act now." But before he could finish, everything erupted in blinding light. It felt like a thunderstorm, roaring, chaotic, consuming. And then silence. When the brightness faded, John blinked rapidly, disbelief washing over him as he took in the impossible scene before him. His father, alive, stood at the far side of the room, shaking his head as if coming to from a deep sleep. "Why did you come here?" Doña Elena's voice trembled, a mixture of relief and disbelief. John's mind swirled. His father had been gone, and now he was back? His return felt like a cruel joke to John. He staggered, unsure of who to trust. Then he remembered Hugo's words. None of this was what he thought. "Tell me this isn't true," John shouted, desperate for answers from his father. "What do you know?" But the words wrapped around him like vines, and he realized something. Just as they were about to peel back one layer of the truth, an even darker secret lingered just below the surface. And with every moment passing, the shadows grew closer. Could it be that all along, he was never meant to find what he was searching for, but rather to continue a cycle he never wanted to be part of? As dread settled, questions boiled in his chest, demanding answers he feared wouldn't come. Would they survive this reunion, or become victims of a legacy they may never be able to escape? John's heart raced as he looked at his mother, confusion mixing with relief. "Mama, we thought you were gone." Doña Elena met his gaze with fierce determination. "I had to protect you, all of you, but time is running out. We must unite against Hugo and his dark plans." The room vibrated with tension, shadows swirling ominously around them. John glanced at Maria, who clutched his arm, her eyes wide with fear. He could feel her trembling beside him. Her presence steadied him, even as dread gnawed at his insides. "Why should we trust you?" Alejandro challenged, stepping forward. "You've kept so many secrets." "Because I've seen what happens when you don't," Doña Elena replied, her voice a shaky whisper. "Secrets have a way of consuming everything. We must confront the truth together." Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and John felt a surge of resolve. "What do we need to do?" he asked, glancing at Clara's empty space, feeling the weight of her absence. "We must combine the power of the ring with the amulet," Doña Elena explained quickly. Together, they unlock the truth and armor us against the darkness. "But Hugo," Maria started, alarm flooding her voice. "I'll face him," John declared, a spark igniting inside. "We will face him. We need to end this cycle." Doña Elena nodded, her acceptance fueling John's determination. They had to face the darkness jointly, as a family. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the doorway, jolting everyone into action. "Hugo's minions are here," Lucia yelled, panic rising. Just then, the dark figure of Hugo stepped back into the room, eyes gleaming with malice. "You think you can defeat me? Pathetic." He raised a hand, shadows creeping toward them like an ominous fog. "Mama, now!" John cried, heart pounding in his chest. With an explosive motion, Doña Elena brandished the amulet, its brilliant light illuminating the room. The shadows writhed, shrieking as they recoiled from the light. "Together," she commanded, her voice echoing with power. They all joined hands, their palms pressed against the radiant amulet and the ring, energy surging through them. "Hugo, this ends now," John shouted. A wave of brightness enveloped the room, reshaping the shadows into whirls of light. "We won't let you control our bloodline anymore." The air vibrated with intensity, and Hugo's furious screams filled the space. "You think this is the end? You'll regret this." Just as Hugo was about to charge, the light surged and exploded outward, engulfing him. A brilliant flash erupted, and when it faded, Hugo was gone, leaving behind echoes of his twisted laughter. The silence that followed was deafening. John gasped for breath as the weight of their victory hung in the air. "We did it," Lucia whispered, disbelief etched on her face. Maria squeezed John's hand, relief flooding through her. "We're free." John released a shaky laugh, drawing everyone close. They had faced their legacy's darkness and emerged victorious. But even in that moment of triumph, he felt a lingering uncertainty. What else was left unsaid? His mother's gaze softened. "There's still much to uncover about our past," she said gently. "But for now, we start anew." As they stood united, their bond waxed stronger. The shadows that once threatened to tear them apart no longer held dominion. They had each other, and together they could face whatever awaited them. But before they could contemplate their next steps, the air turned electric again, and a chilling whisper danced through the mansion. "This isn't over." With a shared glance, they all knew that the battle was just beginning. Now that you've reached this gripping climax with John and Maria, you have to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't you want to be the first to know how this story unfolds? It's time to smash that like button now to feed the algorithm that keeps bringing you these exclusive stories. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories. What did you think of the ending? What's next for this incredible family? Your insights are valuable. And don't wait another second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know how this story ends. This is the moment to show your support, because only true fans understand the importance of keeping this community alive.